Good morning, dear students. Welcome to your Google Classroom. Today, see, you have the text with you. Today we will begin with the last lesson in your collection. Last lesson in the sense that it is the last portion that I have to complete in your class. That is, my portions say I have to complete the first session with 6 poems that we have already completed. And then we had the third section where we have the drama Nagamandala by the Kannada writer Girish Karnad as a detailed study. It is recommended for detailed study, and that also we have completed. And from session 2, I have to do 2 lessons, one by R.K. Narayan and the second one by Amrita Pritam. R.K. Narayan's the autobiographical piece we have completed already. And now The Weed by Amrita Pritam is the last one that I have to do this semester for you. And The Weed, it is a very, very simple story. It is a simple story written by the great Punjabi writer Amrita Pritam. And so, as usual, before going into the text, let me introduce Amrita Pritam, the author. You may not be familiar with Amrita Pritam, and so I will introduce the author before you. Amrita Pritam, she was born in Gujranwala in Pakistan in the year 1919 on 31st August. She was born in Gujranwala, and this place now belongs to Pakistan. She is a great Indian novelist, essayist and poet who wrote both in Punjabi and Hindi. She is considered the first prominent female Punjabi poet, novelist and essayist. She is counted to be the leading 20th century poet of the Punjabi language. And she was greatly loved and respected on both sides of the India-Pakistan border. And so a great writer who had more than 100 works to her credit. That is Amrita Pritam. And she is a noted Punjabi writer who was greatly loved, respected and appreciated by people on both sides of the India-Pakistan border. And her father's name is Kartar Singh Hitkari. He was also a poet. And so the daughter have inherited the poetic talents from her father. And her mother was a school teacher by name Raj Bibi. Unfortunately, the mother died when the girl was nearly 11 years old. And after the death of the mother, the family moved to Lahore. And they remained in Lahore till the partition of India into India and Pakistan. And so after the death of the mother, the family migrated to Lahore. And Amrita was so lonely and isolated with the death of her mother. And she started writing at a very early age. Actually, when she was nearly 16 years old, she could publish the first collection of poems. And it was titled Amard Lehran, Actually, the meaning is immortal waves. That is the English translation. And so the first collection, it is an anthology of poems, and it was published when she was only 16 years old. And the same year, she got married to Pritam Singh. And Pritam Singh, actually, Amrita was already engaged to Pritam Singh years before. And in 1935, she married Pritam Singh. Then Amrita was only 16 years old. After the marriage, she assumed the name Amrita Pritam. And they had 2 children, a son and a daughter. But the family life was not at all a happy one. See, Pritam Singh was not a man with literary talents like Amrita. And naturally, the married life was a failure. And in 1960, Amrita left Pritam Singh. And it is said that she already had a great love for the poet Sahir Ludhianvi. And actually, critics say that it is the relationship between 2 great intellectuals, 2 greatly talented people. However, this Amrita lived with Sahir, poet Sahir, but very soon she has to give up this relationship because the poet Sahir had an affair with a singer by name Sudha Malhotra. And when Sudha Malhotra came to the life of Sahir, Amrita left Sahir. And there she started living with the artist and writer Imrose. And Amrita has written an autobiography called Rasidi Ticket. And Rasidi Ticket means the revenue stamp. That is the English translation. And there the relationship between Amrita and Sahir, the poet, is depicted. And now when Sahir started living with Sudha Malhotra, Amrita, she found solace in the companionship of the artist and writer Imrose. It was a beautiful relationship that lasted for 40 long years. For 40 years, that till her death in August 2005, when she was 86. Till that time, Amrita and Imrose lived together happily with the 2 children they had. And Imrose can understand her and her talents well. And he used to design Amrita's book covers. And he made her the model or the subject for many of his paintings. And finally, she died peacefully in her sleep on 31st October 2005 at the age of 86 in New Delhi after a period of long illness. And so and then that is that much about her personal life. But remember, see, her literary career was a long one, spanning over 6 decades, during which she produced more than 100 books on poetry, fiction, biographies, essays. She also had written a collection of Punjabi folk songs and an autobiography. They were translated into many Indian languages and also to many foreign languages.